So before, a couple of weeks before this session, I sent out a survey. I was able to send it out to about 55 people. There were a couple of bounce backs and problems, but hopefully most of you at least got the email about the survey. Ultimately, 23 people completed the survey, and so I'm basing the next few slides off of those 23 completed surveys. Next slide. So of those 23 people, I asked the question, do you use social media or blogs in a professional capacity? And 15 said no, the rest said yes. So it looks like about 1/3 of you are using blogs or social media professional capacity, the other 2/3 not so much. Next slide. I asked the question, do you use social media or blogs in a personal capacity? And this was the distribution of responses. So you can see it's widely distributed. The reason I'm showing you this is because no matter how much you use social media, you're not alone even in this room. So there's a very wide spectrum of both use and experience with social media. And so I'm trying to cover sort of everybody, no matter where you're at. Next slide. I also asked, which of the following social media services do you use in a personal or professional capacity? This is the breakdown. There was one free write-in response. As you can see, LinkedIn is the top. I think the number there was like 21 or something. That's not surprising considering LinkedIn, it's one of the biggest social services. Our LinkedIn group, the biggest alumni LinkedIn group, has over 10,000 members. And an alumni audience is going to be likely to use LinkedIn because it's for professional networking, something that was probably of interest to alumni at some point. Following that, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Google+, these are all very commonly used social media services. Next slide. I asked, what is the biggest barrier or challenge you face with social media? And I only let people pick one, and these were the responses that I let people choose from. One person wrote in, Facebook is blocks at my employer, so I don't use it. I actually counted that as lack of institutional support, because that's what I considered that to be. The top response was lack of time. Not surprising, that's a common complaint, which is why I put it on the list. The next response was complexity of services. Something that I noticed about this response that I found meaningful was that only the people who do not use social media in a professional capacity said that complexity of services is the biggest barrier. And what I take away from that is that if you have to use social media, you can learn to use it. It's not something that if you don't put in the effort, you won't be able to figure out. I'm confident that everyone can figure out how to use social media if they have to. The next, lack of measurable results. The only people who said that was the biggest barrier are people who do use it in a professional capacity. And that's kind of where I'd like to get more people. I would like that to be the biggest barrier for more people. That's where I often find my biggest barrier. And that is probably one of the biggest barriers for people who use it in a professional way. And I think it's a good problem to have if that's your biggest barrier. Next slide. OK, so now I'm going to launch into sort of the main bulk of the presentation. Go ahead. So like all horrible PowerPoint presentations, I'm beginning with the definition. So the definition of buzz. Obviously, we're talking about this third one in this session, particularly. Although I wanted to give you sort of the historical definitions of where this comes from, this onomatopoeia, which really it's like activity, it's noise, it's kind of unfocused. And although that is the title of this presentation, I want to get deeper than buzz. I don't really want buzz to be the end objective. I want to be thinking about sort of more focused questions other than just how can I build more unfocused conversation about what I'm trying to do. Next question, or next one. OK, so I think to delve into that, I want to ask two why questions. The first one is, why would someone pay attention to what you're doing on social media? What's the payoff for them to go to what you're doing? The second one is, why do you want the attention in the first place? Why do you want people to be talking about what you're doing? Next slide. Oops. So, Lady Gaga. Does anyone happen to know what distinction Lady Gaga has in social media? Bingo. Most followers on Twitter. As of yesterday, the last time I checked, Lady Gaga has 14,747,000 14,447,000 followers on Twitter, more than anyone else. In the past month, she's added anywhere from 16 to 60,000 followers every single day. So Lady Gaga is doing something right. By comparison, Uchicago Alumni, which is the Twitter account that I'm the curator of, it's approaching 1,000 followers, and we get 3 up to 5 additional followers a day. So that gives you a comparison of sort of the scale we're talking about. Now, that's not to say that we're the smallest. We're not the smallest by any means, but it's a huge gulf. Yeah, this is Twitter, right? So I want to look at some of the things that are going on this Twitter page, because it's not an accident that Lady Gaga has the most followers. So you may not be able to see it very well, but there are timestamps on here. You see October 8th. I think I pulled this screenshot October 9th or something. October 8th, October 6th, October 5th, October 3rd. You can see that she is posting regularly, but not so often that it gets annoying. On average, she posts 0.8 times a day, and she rarely posts more than 3 times in a single day. So regularity is a big reason why people continue to follow her, because they're going to continue to get things from her through the account, and they can expect how often she's going to be tweeting. If all of a sudden she started tweeting 100 times a day, she would lose a lot of followers because people would get annoyed. Another thing she's doing very well, this thing on the right, this panel on the right, this is actually, this tweet expanded, so there's a link right here. That's the picture that goes along with that link. If you look at this picture, this is not really a very staged photo. It's not like an ad photo. It's not something that a publicist might, but it's not something you see in a magazine, right? This is not a picture that people are seeing anywhere except for this Twitter account, probably. It's kind of fun. It shows that she's a person. And so this is a reason why someone who is interested in Lady Gaga is going to want to follow her Twitter account. Even if they read magazines about her all day, they're not going to see this picture anywhere but the Twitter account. So this is giving people a real incentive to continue to follow her. Another thing that she's doing very well is she has a great presence outside of social media. She's not just social media. She has fans all over the world. And she ties what she's doing here into her concert. She talks about, she says, I'm backstage at this concert. Here's a picture of me backstage getting ready. Next slide. This is another example. One of the biggest reasons why people would be interested in what you're doing is because they're aware of what you're doing. Now, what this algorithm represents is the way Facebook determines whether or not something is important for you to see. Because Facebook filters a lot of content and will decide this thing is probably more important to this person, so I'm going to put it at the top of their news feed. There are things that people you're following on Facebook post that you will never see because Facebook decides they're not very important to you. So there are basically 3 elements. One, user affinity score. This says, based on previous interactions, we believe that these 2 people have a greater affinity with each other. They comment on each other's walls a lot. They like what each other are doing on Facebook. The next thing is edge weight. So if you think about every Twitter user as a node in a network, so dots and lines, the dots are the people, the edge, what we're talking about here is the line that connects them. And so there are various things that represent that edge. So for example, if Julie posts something on Facebook and I like it, it says, oh, well, the edge just got more important because you said, this is an edge I care about because I just like something through that edge. The third thing is decay factor, which is just time. Is this something that just happened or is this something that happened a month ago? Next slide. Okay, so now I want to give some people some very concrete examples of things they could be doing right now. So I'm calling this 5 tricks in 5 minutes. It'll probably take me more than 5 minutes because I'm going to give a little context behind each one. But the idea is that each of these things you could do in less than a minute. So go ahead and go over to Firefox. Okay, so this is YouTube. Will you search for Uchicago magazine, all one word? Let's find something here. Let's pick, I don't know. Let's pick Man vs. Mansueto. And you can actually go ahead and pause it, so we don't have to watch it. So if you click the share button, go ahead and click the share button. Loading. Actually, let's go add to next to, oh really? Actually go back to share, sorry. Should be, all right, let's forget this one for now. Okay, so let's go to Facebook. And then search for the University of Chicago Women's Business Group. Actually, before you do that. So on this page, you'll see this is the Uchicago Alumni Facebook page. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little thing that says Uchicago Alumni right next to home. That is representing that I am posting on behalf of Uchicago Alumni, and everything I post will show up like this. Instead of saying Tracy Swanson, it'll say Uchicago Alumni. This is something you can do if you're the administrator of a page. So go ahead and search for University of Chicago Women's Business Group. Right. Okay, so if I'm the administrator of Uchicago Alumni, okay, so there are personal accounts and then there are pages for entities that are not people. This is an example of one, Uchicago Alumni. It's not a person per se, it's an entity. I'm the administrator, and rather than posting as my personal self, Tracy Swanson, I can post on behalf of Uchicago Alumni. And it'll show up exactly like this. Well, yeah, it'll show up exactly like this. This is something I posted, but it doesn't show up as me, it shows up as Uchicago Alumni. So go ahead and go to the Women's Business Group. I'll give you a better example of how this works. Right. It's going slow. When does the session end? 1:45? 2? Well, I think the next one begins at 2. Is that right? Okay. Wow, this is not cooperating, is it? A little slow. Okay, so here's another page. Now, I can write something up here. I'm actually going to show you a couple tips to write it at one time. So I go ahead and say, welcome to Facebook. This is a fairly recent page. Welcome to Facebook, and then type an @ symbol, and then University of Chicago Women's Business Group until it shows up in the, actually you have to space it out. Until it should show up in the drop-down menu, hopefully. Okay, it's not going to. So just delete that part. So I'll show you how to keep it, yeah, just delete the whole thing. Okay, so I'll say welcome to Facebook, exclamation point, and then go ahead and share that. So now this is on their page, by the way. This is on their wall. But I'm posting as Uchicago Alumni, and I'm saying, welcome to Facebook. This is not as me, Tracy Swanson, but as this page, as the entity. Yeah, let me show you how to do that. I think that was the question you were asking up here. Yeah. Okay, so up in the corner, next to home, there's a little arrow. You'll see use Facebook as page. Yeah, go ahead and click on that. These are all the pages for which I'm an administrator, and you simply select one of those. Right now, it says logged in as Uchicago Alumni. And then if I want to get out that, you'll just see it says switch back to Tracy. That'll log me back in as my personal self. Let's go to LinkedIn. So this is me in LinkedIn. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. If you're the administrator for a page, you can do that. Any page, but not any page. Yeah. Groups, right.
And the groups, any group member can post, right?
They can post in that group, but you cannot post on behalf of the group on a page. Right, because pages or groups are groups of individuals. A page is a separate entity. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so for the University of Chicago Club of Northeast Ohio, we started a page. We only have 35 friends, while we have like a couple thousand alumni friends in the area, but we're going to keep working on it. And I haven't been using it enough, so I have a lot more to learn, but at least it's a way we can communicate. We're doing LinkedIn. We're going to start that now too.
Yeah.
Facebook and LinkedIn, yeah, because they're almost. We think LinkedIn's going to. I think a lot more people will be more comfortable going on LinkedIn, at least in older age groups than Facebook. So
Could-
I think we
could
may
be.
have more success that way.
Okay, so
Are we asking Facebook questions now or later?
let's hold off just a minute so I can get through a couple of these. So this is in LinkedIn, but I can actually. Are any of you familiar with Twitter very much? Okay, so on Twitter, you put an @ sign and then the person's Twitter name, and it will. It's called a mention. It will notify them that you've talked about them, and also give a link so anyone who sees that will be able to link directly to their Twitter account. And I can actually do those kind of links through LinkedIn to Twitter. So go ahead and say, I'm doing a presentation for @Uchicago Alumni, all one word. And then go ahead and, can you pull down the little Twitter icon? See there's the arrow next to it, I just want to make sure. Okay, so go ahead and do share. Now you'll see this is now linked. That blue thing means it's a link. And I think if you click on it, if you click on the link, sorry, the Uchicago Alumni one. Yeah, that's just me. Yeah. Now it's linking me from LinkedIn directly to Twitter. So anyway, I'll get to the punchline while this is loading. If you have, for example, if you have both a LinkedIn account or you use LinkedIn and you're also dealing with a Twitter account, this is a way you could sort of maximize your time by using those links that pass through multiple services.
So did this post go also on tweets? I just didn't see it right.
It did. This is in Twitter.
Where's that particular post?
Yeah, let's see. It should be in here. Will you click on, why don't you click on the Uchicago Alumni thing? Right here, sorry, right here. Just click on that somewhere. Hopefully it did. It might be taking a little bit to load. Or actually, see where it says curated by in the right hand? And it has my Tracy as well. Yeah, if you click on that, it should show up in my okay. So the internet is unfortunately working a little too slowly. Yeah, it's taking a little time.
So the idea is that the same post appears both on LinkedIn and Twitter, right?
Exactly, exactly. And both of these have sort of been about linking. Linking is a good way to cross-market. So for example, when I went to the Women's Business Group page and said, welcome to Facebook, everyone who's following that page will see that it came from Uchicago Alumni, and maybe they didn't know that Uchicago Alumni existed as an account on Facebook. They'll now know that because I'm doing some cross-marketing. Yeah.
So the key to using this stuff is getting people to sign on as friends, or for LinkedIn, joining your group and or Facebook, liking your page. So then you can communicate with them, right? Otherwise,
Yeah.
somehow we have to get the word out on one of our postcards or a blast email
Mm-hmm.
to all of our folks. Please do that.
Yeah.
So then it makes it easier for us to communicate with them on top of whatever the university is sending out.
Yeah, having people in your group or liking your page is a good way to help ensure that they'll see what you're doing, but not necessarily required. Because for example, if I search for Uchicago Alumni on Google,
Yeah.
the Twitter account will come up. So there are other ways, but that's the best way to help guarantee that that message is getting to them, is if they like your page or join the group.
So but there's something else I could do to, like, you're saying I could on LinkedIn search for Uchicago
Yeah.
alumni.
Or on Twitter, you could search for Uchicago alumni and that'll still come up,
Okay.
even if you're not following it. But getting them to like or join is a better way to,
Be optimal.
yeah.
Why wouldn't she just go in on her LinkedIn for her regional and then go on to the university, that same thing you were on,
Mhm.
and write a message and do the same thing?
That would be a fantastic thing to do.
I mean,
Yeah.
Can you help me? That's stupid.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm leaving here with your card.
Yeah, yeah, please do. I'm actually, at this point, I think we're just going to go into some of the questions that came from the survey, because I think that's kind of what we want to talk about anyway, is just what your questions are. Actually, I do want to go through this example. Is anyone here, well, let's go to the example, next slide. So the question was, I manage a website for the alumni group, University of Chicago Women's Business Group, the page we just looked at. We have a LinkedIn group, and I've started a Facebook page. I'd like some ideas for keeping them updated and in sync in a minimal amount of time. Does anyone want to claim this question? That's you? Okay, so let me ask you, what was your objective, or what was your reason for starting a Facebook group?
Just another place, because you need to go where people are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need people to like you, say on Facebook, we have a variety of levels. We have people who are in retirement, all the way to recent grads in their mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
You just go to where they are.
Yeah.
And we're looking at, well, gee, we have all these events, and I can put them out in an email, I can put them up on our website, and I can put them up on Facebook, and I can put them up on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
We have a LinkedIn account, and we have a Facebook. I'm not so sure about Twitter. I mean, do they have enough to say 140 characters? I don't know, but I'd like to be able to look at them. And just when I put up an event, I want to put it up in a variety of places.
Sure.
And just in a simple way. Do I go to the Hootsuite, something like that, or do I do what you just demonstrated?
Yeah, so you could do that where there are some services that you can just share directly through without having to rewrite content. You said you mentioned going where people are. Would you say you would want to find members on Facebook who you don't already have communication with?
Yeah, we're trying to,
Okay.
it's a marketing thing, it's making people know, yeah, we'll get an event up, and do we wait until we get an email out once or twice a month, or do I, if you're on Facebook, do
Yeah.
the day I post it.
Okay.
Another is like people are, if they have Facebook account, they go there every day.
Mhm.
But it's not granted that they will go to our like group page
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
So it's easy to get their attention there.
Right. Right, which is why you want to post regularly, because that'll help with that. Let me actually go into a way you could potentially find new members through Facebook. So go over to Facebook again. Hopefully this will cooperate this time. And then go down to advertising, which should be all the way down at the bottom. One thing that Facebook is good at, and kind of scary because of, is that it has a lot of information about you and your interests, because people tell Facebook what they're interested in. So let's go into, what just happened? Oh, okay. Cool. Okay, so go to that green, create an ad in the corner. We're not actually going to create a full ad, but I want to show you about the way you can target ad to a specific audience using Facebook. You would pick, your personal, you would pick your page. So let's scroll down to where we have some of the targeting. Scroll down a bit more until we get to college. Okay, so this is important because it's an alumni audience. So let's go to in college, or no, sorry, not college grad. And then you can select the University of Chicago. And this is anybody who says, yeah, I graduated from the University of Chicago will show up here, if it will load. There we go. Now, if you look on the right, that's the number of people that entails. So 55,000 people. Almost 56,000 people have said, yes, I'm an alum of the University of Chicago.
On Facebook?
On Facebook,
Wow.
yeah. So since it's a women's business group, we can say women, or where is that? Yeah, not interested in, but there should be one where you can specify women. I think it's further up. Yeah, there we go, women. So that's almost 25,000 people still. And let's go to interests. It should be, yeah, right there. So let's say business. It's a business group, right? So look on the right. That's only coming with 380 people. But let's dig down into the interests. So let's say, what's a common like occupation that someone in the women's business group would have? Finance, economics. We can keep adding these. So finance added, what, 100 people? Economics?
Marketing.
520, up to 520, marketing. Now we're up to 820. So now we can set up this ad that will only appear to people who have these criteria. So this is one potential way you could use Facebook to find additional members that you may not be aware of or who may not be aware of you.
Isn't it free sense?
No. Right, okay. Right, yeah. So there's a cost. Basically, it's a bidding system where for each of these segments of the population, there are only so many ads they're going to display at one time. Usually it's 3. And you enter your bid. You say, I want to pay 50 cents. I will pay up to 50 cents per 1,000 impressions, or I will, pay up to $1 for every click. And then it'll say, okay, well, we have this much advertising space. We're going to look at all the bids for this segment of the population. And then basically whoever has the highest bid, that's the ad we put in place.
So we get a payment account for our women, right?
Yeah, you would enter a credit card number, essentially. And then you can say, I will only spend up to this total amount of money.
Who are you bidding against?
Anybody who wants to send an ad to women or graduates of the University of Chicago or women interested in business, any of these different slices of the population. Some people might be wanting to advertise to everyone, so you're still bidding with them, but they're not going to bid, they're not going to put in an ad that'll hit 800 million people every day forever. That would cost way more money than anyone's going to invest.
And how do you know what's a reasonable price to bid?
A little trial one, it will give you an estimated amount that you should bid.
Well, the University of Chicago, what was your experience? How much was it?
We ran one, and I think our average for clicks, and I think our average was 120 something per click is what we paid.
So if they see about those click, you don't pay more.
Right, since we're paying by pay per click. You could also do pay per impressions, so you pay for every 1,000 impressions. An impression is just, it appears on their page. Yeah. Okay, 5 minutes. Okay, let's just skip over to the questions. So let's go to the first slide. So I want to cover a couple of these questions that are submitted in the survey because I think they're good and sort of general. Well, let's just go ahead and go with the first one. Does anyone in here feel like you haven't seen any action items so far you could implement right away? You can be honest. I'm not. Or an event?
On LinkedIn, it's pretty easy to, put an event.
Mm-hmm.
You can share it with everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we're running through stuff pretty quickly here. Yeah.
I think that in life, everyone's so busy that unless you make it incredibly easy, I mean, like my 6-year-old can do it. People are not really doing this.
Yeah.
And I think that, I can treat a lot of things in life with my 6-year-old in mind, but, even my own staff, I send around stuff and they don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it on your social media, they don't do it. I mean, unless I literally make it like one-clickable,
Yeah.
it's not gonna happen.
Mhm.
So is that hard to do fundamentally, to set stuff up? Just, I guess it's my own knowledge, I don't know how to do it. If I
Yeah.
did, it would be easy. But I just feel like unless it's literally just a click from a board member or a staff member, they're just not gonna take the time to
Mhm.
go put anything on their Facebook or their LinkedIn or their Twitter,
Yeah.
or even like us, unless I make it like big button.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to really focus on what your objectives are. I think that's the key. And if these channels are not going to meet your objective, then don't use them.
Well, I need awareness, so I need to change.
Sure. So then what is it that's going to get you the most awareness. You know, how many people are seeing what we're doing here as opposed to somewhere else?
Well, they're not seeing anywhere, that's the problem.
Right.
So
So,
we have to start somewhere.
so what are, I mean, what are you doing now to build awareness?
The problem is that I work for a not-for-profit, and so we connect very well with students because the person whose this job this is was a student, and she's like 22.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm 43, and donors, donors who are older have more money.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I need to find a way to connect to people who aren't on Facebook, but maybe on LinkedIn, probably really not on Twitter.
Yeah.
But again, is there a way to sort of cover our bases? You know, 'cause this isn't my thing really, it's
Yeah.
also not really my job.
Yeah.
But it affects me, because if I can't create awareness, then I can't ask for money.
I would say,
Chicken and egg.
I would say find those people. There's a real opportunity in social media to go and find those people. Find in LinkedIn, find what groups, people, what specifically are you looking for awareness?
We're an educational, like, mentor and support program.
Are you looking for educators, or are you looking for mentors, or?
Sometimes we look for mentors, but I mean, my real job is really, finding corporate sponsors,
Okay.
individual donors.
Okay.
There's a lot of ways you can connect with us, so I
Yeah.
would never say no to anything, but
Sure,
it's
sure.
about the money.
So you might want to look for groups that are in LinkedIn that are about mentoring, or that are about,
And then I join that group, or does my
You-
organization, can an organization join another organization's group?
it depends on the service.
Okay.
In LinkedIn, not exactly, but you could join as yourself, or a member of your staff could join and talk about what you're doing and engage in conversations with people there,
Right, so start a discussion, basically.
or join a discussion.
Is there a way,
Okay. Yeah.
It's an enormous question, even if people to do those like your friends,
Mhm.
just click like seems to be a big issue. That's
Yeah.
probably a little psychological, social answer to that. I'm not sure what it is yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I'm really saying focus. You know, what is your objective, and why do you want people to do it? Why would people want to do this? What is it that's drawing them there?
I mean, one of the things I want to be able to do is, sometimes I find out at the last minute, that there's a UC alum or a faculty member, like, that I didn't know was coming to speak in Cleveland or Northeast Ohio
Mhm.
at the Museum of Natural History, or, and I just happen to know that they're an alum, or
Yeah.
their faculty, and I didn't know in advance to be able to plan an event around it, a formal event. But I want to let people know so that there's that connection built, and if they want to go, they can go, or we can spontaneously create an event.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's one of the reasons I want to take advantage of these things, because this has happened a few times.
Sure.
And I can't, and also the university only wants me to contact alumni. They do their blast emails, and they really don't want me sending out emails to my personal group of alumni. I have like around 100 or so
Mhm.
that I have emails for, and those people like me to send them personal reminders and personal emails.
Yeah.
But the university is concerned about too much, and about actually spam, like you're only allowed to do it every so often.
Sure.
But if someone voluntarily signs on to your group for LinkedIn or Facebook, then it's not an issue. It's a non-issue.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well,
for
that,
me, these are my motivations. But if I could get like a little 1 or 2 sheet page from you with some instructions, because I really do better, like, when I was learning Microsoft Word, or, whatever, 20 years ago, I had a handbook in my work, and it really helped me to have things written down that I can look at to see very simple steps of how I do stuff. Because I had someone show me, I had an alum do the Facebook page for me, but I still am kind of clueless and
Yeah.
lost.
well, and I think what you said is good, because social media is a much quicker channel than even email, for example, because it takes less time to put together. I mean, way faster
Send a
than.
message, too.
Right, exactly. But that sort of thing doesn't happen spontaneously. It's because there's an existing series of networks. There's an existing group that you can send that communication to, because you've built those ties already, and then you can implement them. So there is some background that goes into being able to have something happen like that through social media. It's because those ties are already there.
I mean, if there's some way the university can help us by giving
I can.
us some instructions.
That's me.
a cheat
Yeah.
sheet.
If you haven't taken my card, please do. I will answer any questions you have, small or large, to the best of my ability. I will walk you through whatever social media things you need to do. Yep. So this other sheet, it's a short guide about writing social media content. So please feel free to grab that on the way out. And thank you all for coming. I hope I didn't. Oh, I made some of you late. I hope not. But thank you all for coming.